So this is how these videos start. I mean, look at all this footage. Might not look like a lot, but look at this. It's almost 4 hours worth of stuff I got to go through. Wish me luck. And if you're here for the first time, my name is Michael, and what these videos are is, well, they're like a short little, well, they're not short, actually. They're a documentary of a little sabbatical year I took. Kind of. The year that I turned 60. I call it 50 at 60. And you could probably guess what that means. It's I visited all 50 states in 1 year. The year that I turned 60.
All right, so the inspiration for this episode came from my sister. Thank you, Lori. You had sent me a link to a Mel Robbins podcast. And this is one of those few years where I'm not out lighting a New Year's event. I'm not stressing out about the crew showing up on time, everybody being sober for the teardown. Again, I've been lighting events for 40 years, and 99% of those evenings were New Year's Eves. I've been spending...
Well, I notice we're getting a little bit tricky there with the multicam shoot from the car. So it was a little noisy in the car, extremely noisy. So let me just kind of set the stage here. I'd mentioned the Mel Robbins podcast I was listening to. She has this process that she goes through every year where she analyzes the past year for successes and failures, and, well, we'll get into that. But anyway, it's essentially analyzing your camera roll to start with on your phone. I had a pretty aggressive vision of how I wanted this episode to go. The first location setup was kind of an epic fail right out of the gate. Turns out the microphone I thought I was recording into was not on. So we'll continue this little chat I tried to have outside from the car.
We're coming right out of the gate with a good question. You know, what's in your camera roll? Again, as I scroll back, I know I have tons of pictures of the cat. I've got a lot of pictures of travel starting from Washington and Oregon and Seattle, straight through to all my stuff in New England, my trek through North Dakota, South Dakota. I know I've screenshotted a lot of garbage. When I look back, that's the data point I think that I'm going to be looking for is what percentage of this was adding value to my life. Make sure and pause this, by the way, if you're doing this exercise, and take a few moments and scroll through your camera roll of 2024 and just make a few notes. Take some time with this. Did I mention it's windy?
You know, one of the things I thought I was going to be doing while I was there was trying to involve the viewer a little bit more. You know, that was at least my intention. And as I edit this, I'm realizing, well, that I'm saying I a lot and me. But I highly suggest you try this. And it doesn't need to be for 2024, obviously. It could be for any year. But most importantly, I'm going to put a link to the podcast in this description, as well as Mel Robbins' video from her YouTube channel, which I think she goes through this. It's a really great process, and I hope you take the time. In fact, if you just want to click off of this video and just go do that, I highly recommend it. Or at least bookmark that for later. Yeah, that's actually probably a better idea. If you're still here, keep watching. Let's do this together.
You know, I probably had a few low points myself that maybe blocked out. But again, this is about collecting data points, a year in review, and Beautiful scene here, by the way. Look at the light changing. Good place for a time lapse, but we got places to cover, things to see, and more questions to ask. Let's go. Had to stop real quick. This is my first view of the whitewater. I'm going to a place where they normally launch boats. It's a whitewater rafting area. It's closed now because it's this time of year, but I think in the springtime is when it's really active because of the snow melt. I just got to say that this is a place I'm definitely going to come back to in the fall because this is going to be spectacular here. I'm on the west side of the Cherokee, west side of the Smoky Mountains, and thoroughly enjoying this drive so far. Again, this project we're doing, it's a personal thing, you know? I really hope you're doing this along with me. As she mentions, it's very personal, but it's very powerful. The thing I'm connecting with right now is something she was talking about, struggles she was having in writing this book that she's writing, but she kind of leapfrogged into some challenges she was having, or some challenges that her kids were having. And as a parent, she was trying to empower them, but not rescue them. And that's, again, getting back to personal, but yet powerful. It's something I can relate to as a parent. You know, my daughter's living in New York and she has challenges, and I can try to swoop in and rescue her all the time, but that's not where you build your life. You build your character and you build your foundation for a better life. And I'm relating to that. If you're not a parent, you're not going to relate to that, I don't think, unless you're a caretaker of some sort. Anyway, you gotta listen to the podcast. I'm not really doing it justice. I'm just putting my own personal spin on it, and sharing some of this amazing scenery as we try not to fall off the rocks. So were the Olympics here, or did they train here?
The canoe slalom event was held here. We looked it up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't know canoe slalom was an event.
Canoe slalom. All right, cool.
We're gonna look it up on you. We're gonna watch it on YouTube.
Awesome, thanks. So apparently I was just told that the canoe slalom was here, 1996, and it's on YouTube. That's where I am right now. What did you learn about yourself? Yeah, for me, it's having an alcohol-free year. I started out the beginning of January. It's going to take a dry January, as they say. And it felt so good, I just kept doing it, and it's been a whole year. And I think I'm going to continue that. I've talked about it before, but what did I learn about myself? That I can feel a lot better without alcohol. So, is that going to be my entire future? Who knows? But for now, I'm happy I did it, and I learned that I can do it. That's what I learned. That's number one. So for number two, again, I'm just going to mention three things. This might maybe jog something in your own memory or get you started on your journey of analyzing and auditing your past year. Number two would be, I recently realized that some of the things that I've been, not consciously, but maybe unconsciously teaching my daughter over the years, planting some seeds, if you would, some of those, the results of that, some of those seedlings, if you would, are starting to grow. Specifically, her understanding the importance of investing at a young age. And I realize now more than ever that some of the things I've been leading, well, some of the things I've been doing by leading by example have been successful, you know? Be happy about that, actually. That was a recent discovery, something I learned. And I think one more thing that I learned about myself is I'm ready for my next chapter. I think I've realized that more than ever on this last few months of travel, that I'm grateful for what I've seen so far, but I'm also looking forward to what's ahead of me. And I know that travel, and somehow creating travel stories or stories of others, is something that I want to be part of my life going forward, for sure. I realize I'm on the right track, I think is what I'm saying. And I realize I'm ready for change. I've learned that about myself, I think this year more than ever.
And so question number 4, what are you going to stop doing in the next year?
Wow, that's powerful. And I'm going to think about that on the drive here till we get to the next spot. By the way, a little point of interest, the next town we're going to be arriving in is a town called Ducktown. It's not really relevant to the story, I just like saying Ducktown.
So I addressed that question from the car, but it was a rather long and drawn out conversation that I'm going to really paraphrase here. Basically, I decided to stop sharing my opinion in a variety of different categories. I've really decided to kind of keep a lot of thoughts to myself. Just makes life a lot easier. And that tees up, I guess, this book that Mel was talking about. It's called the Let Them book. I think it's the title, Let Them. It's essentially, when you boil it down, it's like we all have opinions. And regardless of what your opinion is, I'm not here to change it, and I'm just here to let you have your opinion. And I've kind of really applied that in my personal life. By the way, I'm so grateful I had the time to do this. This was really a once in my lifetime chance to really focus and plan my next year. Like I said before, I've normally been out working on events, either setting them up or tearing them down, and I never had this time to really focus on my direction. So I'm really grateful for that. So that's what I was going to stop. And that leads us to the next question.
What am I going to start doing? I'm going to start connecting more. And that's going to kind of tie in a little bit to my word of the year, which I haven't released yet or really decided on. Again, for some people, like my friend Frank, that's like, hey, whatever, man. I talk to strangers all the time. For me, I'm very introverted that way, I think. But then once I start talking to people, I take the time to slow down and realize that this life on this earth is not just about me. It's about my connection with others. And if I'm going to keep telling stories, and I want to eventually tell the stories of others, I have to learn to get outside of my comfort zone, get outside of my own life, drop the barriers, and make every attempt to connect as much as possible. Anyway, so that's something I'm going to start. I'm going to start making an attempt to connect more and get out of my own comfort zone. That leads me to my question to you. What are you going to start? The sixth question is what would you continue doing that's maybe bringing you success or you're on the right track? For me, it's the first thing I can think of is to continue my what a cool place to ride a motorcycle. Oh, he's racing a car. I'm going to finish this, so I want to continue, obviously, on my path of visiting all 50 states, but not only visiting all, but documenting them in the hopes of telling the stories of others. And I think I'm on track for that. I just want to continue the momentum and the pace and the process that I've been going through. I can't tell you how I felt when we finished that documentary we did of Kim Kahana. There was a moment where we let him see the director's cut, which was, we were almost done. We had one more scene to do, which he was in. But we set up a screen at his house and he watched it, and Thomas got a really good reaction of him like wiping his eyes and holding back the tears. And it meant a lot to be able to bring that joy into somebody else's life. And I really want to do more of that. Every time I record somebody, which hasn't been enough, like I said, it's hopefully going to be more, they always reach back either through comments or email or, texting me and letting me know how happy they were to have been a part of the project. When I interviewed the guy from the bed and breakfast in the Cloran Mansion, when I had the dairy farm, forget her name, of course, I forget all names always, but she reached out and says, what a great little video you put together. I told the story of the place. Even though I didn't interview her, I kind of told the story of the place. And that means a lot when you, not for the ego, but it means a lot that I brought value to somebody else's life. And I want to tune into more of that, so I'm going to continue doing that. So that's where I stand. I mean, what are you going to continue doing? What's been a success in your life so far this year? And how are you going to stay on track? How are you going to keep yourself accountable? So yeah, savor the successes and embrace them, continue them. Stop doing the things that aren't bringing value to your life, and consider what you're going to start. That's a nice little trilogy of questions there. Anyway, there's one more to go, and I have a feeling I might do that from another location far away from where I am. Maybe I'll do that in Gatlinburg or as we get closer. I do have to get on the road if I'm going to get there and fight the traffic or beat the traffic and check into my room and hopefully enjoy some fireworks tonight. So that's it. Time to hit the road again. By the way, have I said it yet? Thanks for being here.
So again, I'll leave links to this journey that I took myself on this New Year's Eve day in the description. And it's a process that I literally went through myself, and I hope you take the time to do it. It's a great way to kind of look at your past year and course correct and set up your plan for the following year. We never really got to step 7. And as you could see, that one was, what simple action step could you take? I had a few action steps that I wrote down that I was actually going to take last year, which I did. And I just want to bring up something that I've just done recently. I decided to start a brand new website called Chasing Light and Story. And this site's going to be a little bit more of a central hub for me to share my next project of trying to visit all 63 national parks. Anyway, it's not really about a bucket list tied to a year. It's about a deeper exploration into light and story. Anyway, I just wanted to drop that. I've been working pretty hard on that. I'll put a link to it and I'm probably sharing a little bit from it right here. And I'll see you next week. Looking forward to taking you on my journey into Gatlinburg, where I got really frustrated with the traffic.
Yeah, this might have been a dumb idea to come here on New Year's Eve.
I'll see you next week. Thanks for hanging out with me.